Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kent Daniel Bentkowski, and you're listening to the Controversy Tapes, podcast number 41. Tonight's date is March 31st, 2008. This evening we have with us back for the third visit in the Illuminati Confessions series, our good friend Leo Zagami. Tonight we're going to talk about membership in the Illuminati, how one becomes a member, and most importantly, what is done to the members to keep them from leaving the order, and maybe Leo will have some other information that we will find interesting during the course of our conversation. So, with that being said, welcome back, Leo.
Thank you very much, Kent. It's a pleasure to be again on your show.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I always enjoy your insights, and I'm sure tonight will be no exception to that. So, to begin, how did you get involved in the Illuminati? I know you were born into it through your family, but could you describe how that works, please?
Yes, membership in the Illuminati is, by definition, a meritory thing. It's something that you are usually born with because you are part of a family ancestry that has practiced certain things and has been part of certain clubs or certain societies, certain orders that we define altogether as Illuminati. But I will include also in this Illuminati category also the membership, for example, in the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club is a very important part of recruiting Freemasons worldwide, because from the Rotary Club Freemasonry can take their best business assets, while instead the recruiting regarding the intelligence and the military part, it's always done in lodges or chapters or orders which are specifically inclined for the military, for participation by the military, which obviously then gets to be part of this pyramid of power. In my case, as we were discussing my case, I come from a long family line of people who have been somehow involved in the power of the sacred Roman Empire and also in the power of the Catholic Church, and they had also in the past positions of responsibility and been all kinds of things. I mean, I have in my family, I had I don't know, the clockmaker to the king, for example. That is a very important job.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And a very specific craft, because you have also what are parts of the craft, the corporations who do the various jobs. They also get to become part. That is really how Freemasonry in part is born, also out of the old stonemasons and their capability to transmit their knowledge in secrecy to their apprentice. Usually the apprentice was always a member of the same family. I mean, the thing is that no matter if somebody was a stonemason or a king, usually in the past certain families were bestowed with a position, and that position is also present in also their aristocratic symbols, and the study of their symbols can also tell us a lot sometimes, because it's important to see how certain families have developed and what are really their symbols of their strength. So I will always suggest to people to go and study in detail the symbols of the various aristocratic royal families, so they can always get some more information and and be more able to understand really who they are. Because we are talking here about a pyramid of power in which everybody has their own function, and entering then the Illuminati, what it means? It means that you are part of that elite that has an awareness of reality and a perception of reality which is superior to the people who are on the lower part of the pyramid.
I see.
So the membership of the Illuminati is sometimes granted, and most of times granted in the high levels by blood. But in the lower levels, it can be simply a matter of recruiting people, recruiting it at a university level, recruiting at a college level. I mean, recruiting is very important, you understand?
Yes.
That's why there are university lodges, there are special secret societies like Skull and Bones in Yale University. That's why we have Scroll and Tie, we have different societies, but also we have, as I said, lodges of the OTO, of Freemasonry, that are part of the education establishment, because it's from becoming part of the education process that the Illuminati can control the culture of our times. They can control it both in with the media and everything else regarding the mass media. This is the common culture, the pop culture. But then you have also the underground culture, for example, the so-called alternative culture. What is the alternative culture of nowadays? It is a product of the Illuminati, which is born out of those occult lodges, more occult inclined, in which, for example, they do all kinds of ritual practices and sacrifices and all kinds of satanic worshipping, and that's why we have, for example, also music like black metal, death metal here in Norway, very popular. This is connected really to what I was saying as the alternative, the underground culture, which is still controlled by the Illuminati, but definitely is not. I mean, even if on the top is controlled by the same people, you have different levels to the pyramid, and definitely the people who is in the Christian order doesn't think that he has really anything in common with the person who is joining the maybe more satanic or Luciferian inclined order, while instead at the top they both merge for the common benefit of the society, that at that point can rule over good, over bad, over what it is, the pop culture, the underground culture. They have had the possibility to inspire people like William Burroughs or Brian Gysin, and at the same time these people were very alternative to what you can call, you know, the culture of a common Freemason or a, you know, but this is because at the top the Freemason esoteric teachings then teach you how to enter the occult, and at that point when you enter the occult you usually join secret societies which are doing rituals that are a bit more deep and a bit more involving than simply the Masonic rituals. The Martinists, the Society Rosicruciana in Anglia, the Rosicrucians in general at the high levels of Freemasonry, they are very much doing rituals that are esoteric, magic, evocations. This doesn't happen at the lower levels of Freemasonry. And if you are not of a specific family which has to have a tradition, obviously also in the occult or in the esoteric, but also if you're not part of the high degrees, the high levels of the pyramid, also the administration of a Grand Lodge is always in the hands of the Grand Master, the Grand Secretary, and the people around them. But at the same time, there is also this other rights, like the Scottish Rite, the York Rite. There is also all these other secret societies, like the Società Rosacruciana in Anglia and other secret societies that are the OTO is not only the Caliphate OTO, which is practiced in America and is born out of Crowley's California OTO setup. There is also a Masonic OTO, which is based in Switzerland, and which is directly connected to the school of Leopold Engel and the Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt. So there is a kind of OTO that stands there to confuse people on who are really the Illuminati, and works mostly with the propaganda given by the Grand Masters on top, which are manipulating all these underground people under them that can be involved in music, arts, poetry, no?
Yeah.
And at the same time, we have also the cult leaders of certain cults, like the Raelian cult, for example, that are specifically made to spread a certain kind of disinfo, to make people in this period of time that we are approaching really an epochal change, historical change in the way we will perceive reality, because we are going towards a planetary conjunction which in 2012 is definitely going to make something different happen, and also something difficult for humankind to understand really what's going to happen. We can't know really, but we know this is the beginning of a new age that has been announced for so long by even secret societies like the Golden Dawn, or secret societies like not so secret, like the Theosophical Society, for example. Everybody in these societies at the high level is now working for a new world order that sees mankind under a one-world government. And if you want to become an Illuminati, and if you really desire to be part of such a network, well, I will suggest that if you're not born in it, you never join, because in any case you will be always manipulated, and you will never really reach any control of anything, because the people on top are still the ones that belong to certain bloodlines, and they have the high levels of the hierarchy under control. It's possible for Jews and for women to join the Skull and Bones from the 70s, but it's not possible for them or for black Afro-Americans to become part of the elite of such establishment.
I see.
The Jews have their own societies, their own secret society, as we know, their own way of working, a sort of Freemasonry, which is B'nai B'rith. And they are very powerful in manipulating many secret societies with their interest, their Zionist interest, including the OTO. But obviously they work together with the Vatican, and they work hand in hand with the Jesuits and what's the Vatican hierarchy. So joining also at the low level these knighthood like the Knights of Malta, people might think, okay, I'm joining something which is very charity inclined, like they do with Freemasonry.
Right.
But they don't really know what are the politics on top and what's really happening. They just want to have the membership in a club that gives them the possibility of doing business.
Yeah, that's the way it was presented to me, was that it was a way to increase my business contacts. In fact, let me tell you what happened to me in the late 80s. I had been working as an investment banker during those years of the early to mid-'80s. And I took over this printing business, and it was in the process of becoming bankrupt. And in the course of a year, I had posted a very successful turnaround in the business of this company, and I caught the attention of several people. One of them who came into my office the one day announcing that he was with the local Freemasonic Lodge and would I be interested in joining. Now, this was recruitment, and they claim that they don't recruit, but I'll be honest with you, that's a bunch of bullshit, because they, as I just said, were in the process of recruiting me. This gentleman had told me that if I ever wanted anything or needed anything, from money to business contacts, that all that would be taken care of, and that I would end up being much more successful than what I already was. And I was a 24-year-old young man who was making between $1,000 and $2,000 a week at this printing business. So I was working as a subcontractor of the U.S. government, and that's what happened to me.
Well, I'm not surprised, because the second level of recruitment after the universities, the colleges, and everything else is the business.
Yeah.
The business is very important, and it's very important for them to grasp the right people at the right time, and also in politics. In fact, what happened really with people I know is that they got first at a very high level, and then obviously they were forced in a way by the situation and by the advantages they will get to join the fraternity. And when they want somebody, it's very different from when they are actually getting somebody who is applying. Because they are specifically out there to recruit certain people that will benefit the fraternity.
Right.
This happens in Freemasonry, but it happens also with the Knights Templars organizations that are also quite widespread. But, as I said, there is this link of blood. So, they always like to have descendants of this or this other Knights Templar, or this other, aristocrat, head of some holy orders or whatever. If you have that kind of bloodline, then you can it's easy to get at the top, like we said already. But in your case, instead, we are talking about the specific kind of recruitment that they actually, like you stated before, say they don't operate, especially Freemasonry. But instead, they do. They totally do.
Yeah, yeah.
And they do it without any shame. At certain levels, Freemasonry becomes an important club where people can meet up for the business, for the politics, for many other things. Though they claim always they don't discuss politics and religion into lodges. That is true only for the lower degrees, or let's say for blue masonry, but it's not true for red, black, white masonry, which are part of the Scottish Rite, in which you have actually also the political and religious side. But let's say blue masonry, okay, they don't discuss politics, okay, but my experience is this: they don't discuss politics and religion in the lodge, okay?
Right.
The moment you have the official dinner after the lodge meeting, which is still part of the lodge meeting, as you know, known as the Agape, there you actually talk mostly about religion and politics. So, so what happens is, okay, they respect the rule that is given to them. We don't have to discuss politics and religion, at least in those regular lodges or so-called regular. Because then you have also, for example, lodges belonging to the Grand Orient of France or close to the Grand Orient of France are in the highest degrees practiced, like, for example, also the OTO. Like we have a new one in America now, just born, the Grand Orient of America, which is close to the Grand Orient of France. They claim to discuss politics and religion even in the lodge. They don't have any problems in doing it quite openly.
Yeah.
So in a way, I prefer them to the others. So the ones close to the United Lodge of England that tend to be regular and don't discuss politics and religion, because the thing is that at least they are admitting what they're doing. And they are admitting that religion and politics are discussed, because at certain levels also of the pyramid, we know very well, they have the possibility of recruiting you for a knighthood, and the knighthood will always be involved in religion. Religion is fundamental for the belief in a knighthood. There is no knight without, the Christian belief or the Islamic belief or the, and so the knight itself can be given only to people who have a very strong belief and want to become even more part of this pyramid. But we have definitely a lot of Freemasons who stay simply in the blue Masonic lodges, where the level really is the level of a Rotary Club, is the level of a business club, is the level of a little bit of charity on the side, because they have to they have tax exemption. With if you can use your donation for tax exemption, at least in England. I don't know if also in America. I think it's the same.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So when you can use your charity for a tax exemption, I mean, obviously you are not really only doing it for the charity. You are doing it because it's something that your company will actually push you to do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so we have hypocrisy on top of hypocrisy. We have these images of great catastrophes happening in the world, like, for example, the tsunami that hit the Far East. And then we have this kind of images and this kind of catastrophes reported on a Masonic publication, in which is obviously for them that they have to bring out in this article their own propaganda, so what they have done good towards the tsunami victims. And all of this becomes propaganda, you understand?
Yeah.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
It's not really like, okay, they can be carrying people into Freemasonry. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it that there is some people out there that give their charity honestly because they think it's a good thing. I don't doubt that. But the majority and the people who are doing the business that helps also the lodge to be maintained and to go on and recruit more members and become powerful. All of that is based on pure materialism, and the charity is just part of this materialistic show, which in this period of time to me seems very sad, because it's very sad to see at the low level the Freemasons getting manipulated to become a sort of charity organization, while at the high level, the usual families, the usual people, the usual grandmasters who are in charge are, they have their own agenda, and this agenda is ever more clear recently with the microchipping, which is being promoted for the kids by Freemasons in America.
Right.
The fact that we have a secret societies, that are worse than Freemasonry, that's obvious, because the secret societies that belong to the Illuminati pyramid are the ones that can't do certain things in Freemasonry, so they do them somewhere else. So obviously those secret societies can be blamed for a lot of what is happening, but Freemasons themselves are part of this pyramid of power. They are the recruiting ground for these secret societies, and they should really take care of really what they are promoting out there, and they should also lift this veil of secrecy, which is completely absurd, because nowadays the only solution is to make things in the open, to open houses of light where people can dialogue openly on high-level themes, but not in a secretive way in a lodge where only Freemasons can meet, only in their own degree. So it's all a matter of where you are in this pyramid of power. And, this is just implementing the pyramid mentality, which is the mentality of the Illuminati.
Right.
The fact that they use so much the pyramids in their, in their symbolism, in their way of working their rituals and all of that, and all the art, the Egyptian art that goes with it, and the symbols of High Egypt, why they're so powerful in Freemasonry? Because these people have a pharaonic nature. They are despots. They want to submit people with their knowledge that they call alchemy. They call alchemy what? Transforming people in robots? Well, I don't think that is really what we can define as alchemy. Alchemy should be the transformation of man into a higher being in contact with God. The gold represents the higher level of illumination that an Illuminati should achieve. While instead, the Western Illuminati, starting from 1776 with Bishop, have corrupt so much the whole system, and now we are here discussing them as Illuminati, but in reality we should be talking about dark Illuminati, we should be talking about people that don't have any light in them. So they are anti-Illuminati. But in reality we define them as Illuminati, because nowadays obviously the majority wants to define them as Illuminati, and they don't think for a moment, if they were truly illuminated, they will not be doing all the idiotic things they're doing every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Problem is that not being illuminated, they're going towards the forces of darkness, the forces that grant them privileges in exchange of certain sacrifices, of certain gifts that they give to these beings, these demons that they are basically cooperating with. Working with demons openly for certain forces in today's society is something that shouldn't be accepted in any way. But it happens in the PSYOPs centers, in the centers where they actually instruct people for psychological operations. In these centers, they are instructed to what we can only define as Satanism. That's why people like Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino have been important, or at least have become somehow myths of the underground satanic realm. Because the link is very important. Satanism mind control. Mind control, Satanism. If I want to control your mind, I'm definitely submitting you to something. So I'm not giving you the freedom. True freedom can be only granted by God. And finding the true God is something personal, something that should be left to one person's belief, but you have to follow the way of the heart. The way of the heart is really what true membership in the real Illuminati should be all about. Mm-hmm. Instead, nowadays we talk about groups like we are mentioning today. We are talking about these groups that have a membership of important people. Why is that, Kent? Why? Because these people are manipulating materialistic power. They are not really manipulating spiritual power. They are simply manipulating the matter. Now the matter is still in no way comparable to what the spiritual realm can give us. And what we really need to survive is the spirit. Otherwise, if we don't have the spirit, we are just zombies. If they want to create zombies, definitely this is the perfect moment in time. Why? Because this alignment is perfect to create zombies. We are at the moment of time in which we are changing an era. We are going out of a whole 2,160 years and getting into a new time, and obviously the people who have studied and know the history of the Illuminati know that in this specific period of time, only in this specific period of time, and only every 2,160 years, and this time we have to calculate also that is the end of 25,120 years, which is also the greater year. So basically the clock is turning for the Illuminati. They know that this is the moment of time in which somebody from somewhere will appear with a new message that will last another 2,000 years. That is really what happens over and over again in history. If you study a little bit also the religions, you understand that they are all waiting for somebody to come with a message. It should be new.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So there is definitely a belief at the high level of the Illuminati, what we have defined as Illuminati, which, as I said, are falling into the dark side, which is that they are actually doing the good. They perceive this present time as a preparation for something that eventually should give them this long-awaited Messiah. And in some way, they hope that they will still be in control, and that is impossible, because we know by definition that if somebody really came through with a new message of hope for mankind, at that point he will become enemy number one. If this message of hope of mankind will clear the fact that the Illuminati and their various bloodlines and families have ruled for thousands of years this planet, and they are basically the slave gods of this planet, then we have to declare the end of the slave gods, because the end of the slave gods is something also anticipated by Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
Aleister Crowley discussed this in the Book of the Law. The fact that we were reaching a new time in which there will be the end of the slave gods.
Right,
He
right.
himself, a Satanist, as we know, 666, the beast, Aleister Crowley says this is the end of the slave gods. This will be the time in which we will see the end of the slave gods. But, as I said, this happens very rarely in history, that we have an alignment favorable for both the good and the bad. You know, this is an alignment that is favorable for good things, but also for bad things. Because we are, for a moment, at the center, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So things can take, you know, two directions. The probability, though, is that something big will happen, and that definitely the Illuminati hierarchy that we have defined in the last few interviews, and we have basically given to this Illuminati hierarchy a structure. We have the Rotary Club, we have Freemasonry, we have the Knighthoods, we have the Vatican, we have the Jesuits, we have the Zionists. That's it. Okay. These people are working for a new world order. This new world order is not gonna happen, because what's gonna happen after 2012 will definitely bring their own plans to an end. And it will definitely create wars. So we are going towards big periods of global catastrophe, in which there will be wars. And why these wars? Because you see, everything works until the car keeps on running. But the moment in which the car doesn't have any more the energy to keep on running, whatever that energy might be, and they don't want that car to have a free energy in any way, Ken. You understand? You can have all the free energy in the world. I mean, you can come up to me tomorrow morning and say, I have a free energy solution, and I will tell you, okay, Ken, but what are we going to do with it? We're going to promote it? They're going to sabotage us. And at the end, if you don't sell it to the multinationals of petrol, who control the oil, if you don't actually sell it to your enemy, they will destroy you.
Yeah. They've done it in the past with these people who have had car combustion engines that run on water and other common liquids. In fact, the other day I just saw an article in the BBC News, or maybe it was the Times of London website, where they were talking about a new car that's being developed that's going to run on air. So I thought that we're not going to see that come to fruition at all.
Well, if they find a way of doing money on air, taxing air is no new thing.
Yeah.
It's always been an idea of the Illuminati, so, you know, just tax the air.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, Al Gore talked about that during the Live Earth celebration that they had over this past summer, where they had that big concert in England, and they talked about that. You know, you mentioned a few minutes ago a name that caught my attention, and I wanted you to elaborate a little bit. You mentioned William Burroughs. How does he fit into all this?
William Burroughs was a very dear friend of my grandmother, Felicity
Oh, really?
Mason. Yes, Felicity Mason, otherwise known in America also as Anne Cumming, famous author of The Love Habit, which is introduced by William Burroughs, who says about my grandmother, this will be the lady of the future. Well, my grandmother,
nice.
Well, no, the thing was that my grandmother wasn't the lady of the future. She was in reality the lady of the most ancient past, because she was always mingling with all the top level Illuminati. And what she did was, in a way, to be a point of contact between high-level people that maybe were like Saudi prince or whatever industry head or politician, with people like Burroughs. You find on the internet things regarding my grandmother, I think even speeches with Burroughs. But you find also the important connection with another great character, which I had the opportunity to meet, that was Brion Gyson.
Uh-huh.
Brion Gyson, the inventor of the cut-up technique with William Burroughs. Now, why these people were so influenced by the Illuminati? Because they themselves went into search of the occult. You see, at the Beat Hotel, William Burroughs performed the old evocation and rituals of Aleister Crowley.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The situation basically was that William Burroughs became, in a way, the creator of chaos magic. William Burroughs was close to Genesis P-Orridge. Genesis P-Orridge was close to Anton LaVey. They were all part of a big circuit in which they were all connected in one way or another. There is a book with William Burroughs and Brion Gyson, which I have downstairs. After I'm gonna have to pick up because it's a particular book. But basically, it is published by Genesis P-Orridge. And we know what happened with Genesis P-Orridge. He was thrown out of England at one point because he was involved with satanic ritual that involved basically children. And at that point, he was kicked out of England, but he claimed that it was an artistic footage. So after many years, he was able to turn back innocent again. But Genesis P-Orridge is another important point of contact between the underground culture, which Burroughs also belongs to, and the interested parties, the FBI agents, the CIA agents, NSA, whatever, their disinfo operations, they're wanting to influence and work with people like Burroughs or Gyson, and also the interest in the occult of people like Brion Gyson and Burroughs. They were regulars in Morocco at these rituals that were made up in the mountains, in which also the Rolling Stones used to participate. And
now, was it the whole band, or was it just Mick Jagger?
No, it was also the other guy who died. What's his name?
Oh, Brian Jones.
Yeah, Jones, Jagger, all of them participated to these rituals.
Oh, no
kidding. I mean, Gyson was a huge inspiration for a lot of people, and including Burroughs. And Burroughs was a person that, as I said, was very close to the Illuminati establishment that was experimenting something new, and that something new was the fruit and elaboration of what Aleister Crowley, in a way, had planted. It was my grandmother, Tracy Mason, who gave me my first Aleister Crowley book when I was 12 years old, the Book of Thought.
Uh-huh.
So you see, these people are all interconnected. There is no free culture that is not influenced in one way or another. Gyson and William Burroughs were obsessed with the figure of the Ashashins, with the old man of the mountain, Hassan Sabah. They were basically, sometimes Burroughs talks about Hassan Sabah in his speeches. I don't know if you have listened to them, where he mentions Hassan Sabah. Have you ever heard that, Kent?
No, I haven't.
It says, if I find it, I will send it to you.
Okay.
It's interesting that these people had this kind of feeling because they really saw themselves as high initiates and their art as experimentations coming out of this high level initiation. You see?
Yep.
And I invite people to study also the points of contact with the Illuminati of these alternative artists, or so-called alternative art. For example, William Burroughs. Okay, we have mentioned William Burroughs, friend of my grandmother. My grandmother, friend of Fellini. Fellini, we know, great cinematic director, very important genius, but a member of the Illuminati, of the Therapeutica of Miriam, a member of the lodge of Gustavo Roll, of the chapter of Gustavo Roll. I would like the listeners to go and study the history of this man, Gustavo Roll, because he was somebody that also was very respected by all initiates of all levels for his powers, his real powers. He could materialize things, dematerialize things, play with a force that is only known to the people that are at the highest level of the Illuminati. To play with these forces in a way that was beneficial also to many people by healing them, but at the same time he was part of this elite, and in fact he acted in that way. I met somebody who was in his lodge, the lodge where Fellini, also Giulietta Masina was in, the wife, and Vittorio Vanni, which is a very big Freemason from the city of Florence, which is involved with organizing conferences all the time at Giubbe Rosse in the center of Florence, which is a notorious place where all the Freemasons, the Illuminati hang out, of all the orders, but very important, a high level. And also the Rotary Club hung out, obviously. But Giubbe Rosse, yes, he was with Fellini's lodge. He talked to me about this experience and what they were doing. Basically, every night, Gustavo Roll will make an experiment, okay? This experiment was to demonstrate the people inside the lodge that something really existed that was above the reality they perceived. And every night, Gustavo Roll, with his experiments, was manifesting things and doing things only thanks to his knowledge, very high-level knowledge of the occult, and the fact that he was using it really on the limit. There where if you go a little bit over the edge, that's it, you are completely possessed. But he was using it on the limit, and he had an understanding of it that pushed President Kennedy to go and visit him. So President Kennedy went to visit Gustavo Roll. This is something which is obviously you can find reports of probably during a visit in Italy. And you can understand the power that this kind of Illuminati that have strong control over the invisible universe have over the highest level of the pyramid, because obviously they are controlling forces that are not understood by the common man or by the common Freemason or by the common Rosicrucian who is receiving by post through Amorc his instructions, or this is high level work. This is level known only to the few, and that's why tonight we reveal the membership of the Illuminati of Fellini, of William Burroughs, of people that are synonymous of culture. Because culture is something that comes out of the reality of every day. So if they manage to overtake the reality of every day, obviously they become also manipulators of culture. And if this culture implements pornography, implements decadence, junkiness, heroin addiction, this can only be a culture of the devil. This is how the secret societies work with their membership, with their members, because on top of everything there is always one devil and one negative force that is obviously used and abused by all these secret societies, which adoperate the occult and make use of evocations.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for expanding on that, because when you mentioned burrows, I'm like, wait a minute here, I never heard this before. And the very fact that these people can command a U.S. president to come to a meeting like that alone shows the power of the group. Was your grandmother a member of the Eastern Star?
Eastern Star is a low-level lobby.
Oh, it is, okay.
In the sense that the Eastern Star is not a low-level lobby. Actually, it includes all the high-level women who are married with Freemasons. But not all these women are capable or knowledgeable in the esoteric. So I never see the Eastern Star as terribly clever. I have witnessed their presence and have met some of them during the course of my adventures in Freemasonry and during the course of my adventures in the Illuminati. We had a meeting in which Rhonda Bachman, who is also a famous soprano, came, and she's a very senior Eastern Star member because she comes from a bloodline which helped founding the Eastern Star. And you can find pictures of me and her on the internet if you go searching for it. So I have experience with the Eastern Star, but as I said, I think that esoterically they are not too developed, but they are incredibly important in the pyramid, because obviously, you know, as wives of important Freemasons and other important members of the pyramid, they get to be also important in their own ways. That's why we have also other organizations in the pyramid dedicated to women, like Zonta International. Zonta International is another branch of Freemasonry dedicated to women. But it's not Freemasonry in the sense that it's like a bit esoteric in the symbolism they use, but in reality it's like a Rotary Club for women that is specifically, you know, designed for the wives of the Freemasons. I mean, this happens. The wives of the Freemasons sometimes become also part of the high-level esoteric establishment when, for example, we have the followers of the Theosophical Society or Le Droit Humain. Then you have a few women who are inclined to do a bit of esoteric work. And obviously you have high priestess women present in all the various Luciferian satanic cults like the Ordo Templi Orientis or the Church of Satan or whatever secret society which wants to do some depraved orgies, like for example the ones done by Amucos or the tantric perverts who are themselves working for the Kali Yuga, which is this era we are living, and for the goddess Kali with these rituals that are bringing more and more evil in circulation. So what is really the aim of the masters on top? Why they are bringing all this evil in circulation? Why they are letting people like Barrows become myth? I have Kent in front of me, the Naked Lunch, autographed by William Burroughs. It's a very special copy, obviously. I have also a Happy Christmas postcard sent by William Burroughs to me.
I collect rare books, and I'm envious.
I have all the William Burroughs books autographed. William Burroughs and Brian Guyton, I have most of their books autographed. and because of the strong friendship with my grandmother. But my grandmother was very important also in the intelligence field during the Second World War and immediately after. She worked for the British intelligence. As all the ladies of that kind of, high-level society who were, and she was, as I said, for a time married with my grandfather, Henry Lyon Young, who is himself cousin with the Queen Mother, so obviously it was a very big scandal what happened later on in the life of my grandmother, because she died in 1993 of AIDS.
Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm also HIV positive, Leo. I have hemophilia, the bleeding condition, and my family has aristocratic Polish royalty in our line, and that's how I came down with the hemophilia, through our family bloodline. And I was given a tainted blood clotting products during the late 70s and the early 80s, and was diagnosed in 1988 of HIV positive. But the good news is that I'm doing fine. What's giving me problems at the moment is hepatitis C, which I also got from the same blood products. Just wanted to mention that. So,
yes, AIDS, a creation of Ronald Reagan and his CIA friends at Bohemian Grove and at Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
AIDS, a creation of the intelligence which has been deliberately put there to eliminate large population of Africa, to create havoc also in the gay community, and basically establish this new terror situation that it's in the lives of all human beings every day, because all human beings every day deal with sex, and I bet that 90% of the people who are listening to us think about it at least every now and then, about what can happen if you get AIDS.
Yeah.
I think that this really gives a lot of power in the hands of who has created AIDS. And I hope that sooner or later, when we regain the power over the medical establishment, which unfortunately is not in our hands, but in the hands of the elite, at that point we will be able to really give an end to this thing. Rock Hudson, who died of AIDS, I met also in Rome. He was a friend of my grandmother. Rock Hudson was probably the first person to come out with this illness at a public level so much, and it was really sad to see him in that conditions after meeting him. And definitely the situation was that they have put this virus in the system. And now we should be able to trace back really who are the real makers of AIDS. That's what we should be doing. Studying a little bit more the situation, Ken, and seeing who is behind it. Because during that Ronald Reagan period, there were a lot of people behind it. And they made a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah. In fact,
you become a victim of the situation, like many others. I have seen dying, unfortunately, and it's a very sad, definitely a very sad situation.
Yeah, in fact, I lost 35 friends who were also hemophiliacs that I knew through meetings at the National Hemophilia Foundation and also here in my local city, Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls area. And to lose that many people that I personally called my friend was devastating to me. And one of the people who passed away was my mentor. He was a man who taught me a great deal of things about life and about hemophilia and about the medical establishment. And I worked for 10 years as a healthcare advocate in the area of hemophilia and AIDS in particular. And I lobbied Congress. I spoke at the University of Buffalo Medical School 5 different times, where I gave lectures to the doctor medical students who were getting ready to go into their first rotation as interns. And so I've been quite active in trying to spread the word about the population control aspects of this horrendous virus. You know, in the last few minutes that we have for this part of the interview, I was wondering if you had any comments or if there was anything you wanted to say about how people are kept in the Illuminati and what is done to people who try to leave.
I think that people who try to leave, or at least become problematic, become very easy target of elimination, physical elimination, which can be implemented in various ways. I mean, you can kill somebody in many ways. You can kill him also not only in the physique, but also in the mind, especially in the mind. And with the techniques they have, they try to really break you down. And they use technology which is at the highest levels these days in manipulating mankind. Technology which is not even known by the mass. Technology which is known only by the military psyops that are implementing it. This technology goes well beyond the use of TV, radio, and the internet. So it's about it's about the waves that you have around you every day.
Are you talking about like microwave technology and things of that nature?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like ARP.
Okay.
And ARP is typical example. So we have to be very careful, really, to defend ourselves. We can build some objects, or we can use the power of prayer. It's very difficult to defend yourself. To defend yourself these days. Illuminati membership is for life if you are at the highest levels. Because if you are at the lowest levels, it's very rare that they bother you. Obviously, they will even bother you if you are leaving after becoming Master Mason. I mean, already there, they will try to sabotage your business, to create problems. So you can only imagine to what happens to a person that has left at the higher level.
Yeah, in fact,
talking about somebody that has maybe either been involved with the administration of a Grand Lodge, which is not a specific degree, but there is various offices of importance, or with having been a grand officer of a right or a specific knighthood or a specific group. This is very important that people understand that living at the highest levels is somehow impossible. And it was possible for me only because I'm well known, also for being able to establish my own defense system. It's like you have to think like the enemy. And the moment you think like the enemy, you defend yourself in a different way, because unfortunately the attacks are always out there, and they try to make as more damage as possible to your own personal life, to everything really, and you can't seem to be able to control it. They are literally in control. At the moment, we can only hope that the people will go towards an awakening of global proportions towards 2012 that will make them realize that we have to change something in the box. But by that time, we will be already in the hands of doctors that will recommend us to microchip us for security reasons and health reasons and all these kinds of reasons. So we will have to really fight for our liberty in the future, and I think that will mean at some point, unfortunately, we're going to be seeing civil arrest, we're going to see wars, we're going to see definitely a lot of calamities come upon a society which has so many faults in the system. But we're not talking here about the moral system, because the moral system will probably regard only our spirit, which is completely screwed up. I'm talking here about the matter. We're talking here about the banking system, the Federal Reserve. We're talking here about the whole system that has brought us to where we are now in 2008. And if the system can last, because it's built on many lies, and sooner or later these lies catch up with you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they sure do.
The only way they can defend themselves is to microchip the population, implement more security, and especially develop techniques within the police that can control people more and more. That is, for them something very important. They have really now at the moment, and I know that for direct information given to me by people within the police, that here in Norway, for example, they are working on really a fascistic way of implementing security, with total control everywhere and anywhere, at 24 hours a day for all citizens. It's really mind degrading to think that your liberty can be really put aside for security reasons, and that they have the justifications of the government that supports them, and that we are in this situation definitely. They control the structure, and they are more and more tightening up their pulse, and this is happening day by day everywhere. They are closing down even clubs for youth to dance in the morning, all this kind of day. Finish. That's it. The youth can't dance anymore. That's it. In Norway, in Ibiza, in Italy, for example, now the control has to be kept really to a maximum. You understand? So that's it.
Yeah.
We can't keep people in the morning or in the day, around, that are dancing around. They have to be in their houses, controlled. Ta ta ta, everybody. So there is not even much fun at being a youth anymore, because I think that they will clamp down on a lot of liberties in the future, and that means really a restriction after the other. In England they are discussing if giving a license to somebody who wants to smoke. I mean, what kind of laws are these? Are we gone completely demented, though? That means that that means I can't smoke a cigarette in my own house if I don't have the permission of my doctor. And this permission, has to be given, obviously at a regular basis and renovated and blah, 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 blah. And you're only going to smoke into very strict areas and ta, 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 ta. This is really becoming fascistic.
Yes, absolutely.
And if people can still keep up with this rubbish and implement the New World Order, despite of what they're saying, because there is a lot of Freemasons out there who like to write, oh no, we are not for the New World Order, no, Leo Zagami is not saying the truth, no, no, no. I would like to reply to them, but instead they are implementing with every act they're doing in any kind of lodge, from the Blue Lodge to the higher level lodge, they're implementing the New World Order. Microchipping is part of it. That's why they're doing it. And the Illuminati are about to play their ultimate card to make us all robots. Because the moment we are officially microchipped, we are robots. And the robots can be used, for labor. And also for slavery.
Yeah.
Because I think, sincerely, Kent, personally, from my personal experience in the Illuminati, and I say this very seriously because in my own personal, I think that in the high levels of the Illuminati at the moment, their idea is to go back to slavery.
Wonderful.
Because I think really that the concept now is more and more clear, and from what I heard in Moscow, in Iceland, in Belgium, in France, there seems to be becoming more and more fascistic, the whole thing, more and more robotic, and at the same time they don't mind if the third world country is starving and dying of AIDS. No, they don't give a damn. And if they give a damn, it's just for promotional purposes that are to do with Hollywood propaganda, Darfur and company. It's so bullshit. They are trying to eliminate Africa. Why? Because Africa is a vital source for, new colonies. New colonies that America can expand eventually if they eliminate the whole population of Africa. This is just constructing new unions in Africa are constructed to become part of this whole union movement in the world. Everything is a union. But in Africa, union is possible if you have the people. If the people are all dead, there will be no union. So I really ask the people of Africa to wake up to who has brought you AIDS and why you are all getting AIDS. Wake up, Africa.
Yeah.
There is a real war to get the diamonds, the oil that are in places like Gabinda, Angola, and all the rest. There is real crooks out there, criminals, like Rui Gabiro, the Duke of Gabinda, that we have nominated in the past, responsible for the regular Grand Lodge of England, for the Illuminati of the Rise of Memphis, part of the Memphis and Mizraim, We have always talked about membership in the Illuminati, but membership in the Illuminati is only possible if you are part of a rite practiced by the Illuminati, which is the Memphis and Mizraim, which is the supreme rite, Egyptian rite, that gives you the secrets for manipulating the rest of the pyramid. So you have obviously very important role of this rite in the Illuminati membership. So Illuminati membership can start also when somebody reaches all the degrees of the Scottish Rite and desires for more knowledge, wants to acquire more knowledge in the esoteric, more possibilities of controlling forces that are beyond the forces known, to get into what is the technology of God used by the rabbis with their Kabbalah, by the lamas in Tibet with their holy texts and their Bonpa, and by the Sufi mystics themselves also when they do their operations. Now the point is, some people do it for good, some people do it for bad. Now the Sufis, if they're genuine, which is not always the case, have proven to be real Illuminati. But the moment in which these Sufis get corrupt by greed, get corrupt by matter, want to have villas, swimming pools, and all the rest, these Sufis are worth nothing. So these Sufis are losing the way. So basically, who comes to me and says, in Islam we have Sufis, and Sufism is an important part. Yes, it is. If people follow the precepts of their founders, of people like Jalaluddin Rumi, Mevlana, who was a great Sufi master, but the people who came after him never understood the tolerance of Mevlana. Mevlana said, come, worshipper of fire, Christian, pagan, come. Rejoice in love. Rejoice in something fraternal that goes beyond the matter. The moment I implement matter, I want to have a state, I want to have cars, I want to have industries, I want to have my kids going into the most expensive schools, and all the rest. Even the high-level families connected to the Sufi chain are corrupt. And what are we going to do now?
Well, Leo,
So what are we going to do? This is a war that the Western Illuminati are winning. Why? Because they're using matter, and with matter they're buying all the other ones who even at times were against them. They're buying them. There is no really genuine source of knowledge anymore, because all knowledge is manipulated by the great power of these people who run the United Nations, and in the United Nations have the home of all power, which is subject to the church and to the Zionist lobbies and the synagogues. So, that's how it is.
Well, once again, fascinating, and I've enjoyed talking about this tonight, just as I have our first two visits. I want to thank you again, Leo, for being with us tonight. And we'll be doing this again in a month at the end of April. And before we go, I would like you to tell our listeners where your website is and how they can get in touch with your information.
Okay, we have at the moment a temporary website which we hope to upgrade and update as soon as we get things together, which I hope is soon. But at the moment you can find all the information regarding Leo Zagami and Illuminati Confessions at www.illuminaticonfessions.webfriend.it. And I hope you enjoy a visit there, because there is some very important information regarding all this pyramid of power. It's obviously in detail. If you want to go through it, it's very interesting and can maybe bring you to realize a different perception of reality.
Absolutely. The information there is quite explosive and very interesting indeed. So we'll be in touch real soon, Leo. Have yourself a good evening, and the best to you and yours, my brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ken. All the best.
Okay, good night.